Everybody, hey, welcome to episode 204 of Cocktails in the War Room. Welcome to the War Room. I'm your host, Mistress Carrie, and welcome to everybody that has joined us 204 times here in the War Room. It all started back on March 14th of 2020, believe it or not, and this is how we've been riding out a pandemic, supporting each other, getting through the happy times, the sad times, the weird times, writing out all the craziness. And we've created, as everyone here in the War Room has dubbed themselves, a family. So if this is your first time joining us here in the War Room, couple things. One, you got to let us know in the comments it's your first time. Two, you got to let us know where you're watching from. Number three, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. And number four, allow me to introduce you right off the bat to my partner in crime, my cohort, the co-host, the peanut butter to my jelly. This is Wednesday the Goth Pug. That's where you can find her on Instagram. And she has been my co-host for all of these crazy episodes. She joins me, because I bribe her with cookies, which she is begging for right now. Get down. Good girl. She knows it's Tuesday, like hours before the War Room even starts, because she comes in and starts staging herself earlier and earlier every week. It used to be like 8:15. Then it was like 8 o'clock. She just sneezed all over my hand. Then it was like 7:45. Tonight it was like 7:05. She was in here starting to wander around like, is it time for the show? Like, what's going on? Want to say what's up to Nancy. Bish is here. What's up, Christopher? How are you? Jessica's joining us. Tracy, Kim, Keith is here. William, Don joining us, watching in Quincy. Yes, the ducking stingray is right here. That's one of many inside jokes. If you're new to the War Room, you got to go to the very first post in the Mistress Carrie blog at mistresscarrie.com. That is what we call the dictionary. That's the glossary with all the inside info, the inside jokes, the references from all of the episodes. We kind of put it all in one place. And the ducking stingray is one of those many, many jokes. Just a sampling of all of the toys that you guys have spoiled this dog with over the last 204 episodes. You want to show everybody the same old tricks that you do every time? Come on, back up. Down. Sit. Nope, sit. Paw. No, you're trying to do all the, can I have the other paw? Good girl. High five? No, back up. High five. Good girl. There you go. There's your cookie. Back up so everybody can see your sweet little fuzzy face. Jessica says, hey there, you cutie. Don't go full cheese, it says Kevin. Yeah, exactly. There are a lot of inside jokes. You can get them all in the dictionary. Eric says, Carrie, I can't believe you needed to turn your heat on. I was in Naples, Florida for 2 years. I live in Chicago now. Still haven't turned on the heat. Correction, I have not turned on the heat. I lit the wood stove. There is a big difference between making the commitment of flicking the switch and turning on the furnace in your house to throwing some logs on the wood stove and taking the chill out of the air after it was like 45 degrees 3 nights in a row. It got a little cold. It got down to the 50s in my bedroom and I was like, okay. I'm just going to light the wood stove. I have not turned the heat on yet. I tried very hard not to turn the furnace on until after Halloween. It's like this standoff that I have with the furnace, but I am not above lighting the wood stove on occasion when it's necessary. And I light the stove way before the furnace and long after I turn the furnace back off again. You know, if there's a chill in the air in April or even early May, depending on what the temperature is like, that's what the wood stove's for, to like get that chill out of the air at night. But I'm not going to light the furnace and put the heat on starting in October until like April or May or whatever. That's not happening. Please. I'm a self-respecting New Englander. We don't turn the furnace on then. Sit down. Sit. Good girl. Good girl. Christine says she is adorable. Yeah, she's adorable sometimes. Most of the time, we don't spoil her much, says William. That is a bold-faced lie. Donna saying, what's up, Wednesday? What's up, family? Zero's not here right now, but I'm expecting her in a little while, so we'll see. Huge difference, wood stove versus the heat on. Thank you very much, Mr. Cole. You know what I'm talking about. Has everybody heard from Brianna? I know she works third shift, but I haven't seen her on here in a few weeks. I have not, and I don't know if there's anything I need to be concerned about, or did she just change work hours and she just hasn't been here? Set the thermostat to 69. 69? What? My thermostat is set at like 62, and the rest of the heat I make up with the wood stove. 69. It's like the tropics. You should be drinking like fruity rum drinks and planting palm trees in your living room. 69. First time here listening from Attleboro. Well, Christine, thank you for joining us here in the War Room. Basically, it's an informal conversation. We get together to talk about everything from music. We talk about the Mistress Carrie podcast. We talk about what's going on in the world. We support each other because everybody's always got something going on with family. And so this is the place that you can come to kind of just fill everybody in on how you're doing. It's an open forum, as you can see on the comments. So jump into the conversation. There is something that I wanted to talk to you guys about, actually. I saw this like funny little TikTok video. I forget the female comedian. I think it was Nikki Glaser, actually. And she was talking about the differences between men and women when it comes to traits that you're looking for in a partner. So I'll pose the question to you this way, specifically sense of humor. If you want to be in a relationship with a woman, or if you are in a relationship with a woman and you say a sense of humor is important, what do you mean by sense of humor? And I'll pose the same question. If you're looking to be in a relationship with a man, what do you mean by a sense of humor is attractive? And the reason why I'm asking is that in this TikTok video with comedian Nikki Glaser, she said that for women, they said a sense of humor is important. And that means someone that is going to make them laugh. When men were asked a sense of humor is important, they meant a woman that's going to laugh at their jokes, which I thought was a really interesting difference. I saw the video late night last night, and I was like, you know what? I want to pose this question to everybody in the War Room because I thought it was a really interesting difference. That women are looking, if they want to be in a relationship with a man, are looking for someone that's going to make them laugh. But men, according to what Nikki Glaser was saying, that she saw this kind of survey, is that men were looking for someone not to make them laugh, but to laugh at them and their jokes specifically. I thought that was really interesting. Jonathan says, condo is set at 70 for the AC and the heat. It feels perfect. I prefer like mid to high 60s for the air conditioning and the heat. I think 70 degrees in the summertime. I get too hot. I've talked about it in the past on the show, but the AC in the summertime, only in my bedroom at night while I'm sleeping, is in the 60s. I want it to be like a meat locker in there. I like it really, really cold. Let's see. Sense of humor is killer. You have to be able to laugh at yourself and those around you. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You have to be able to laugh at those around you, not make other people laugh. This is what I'm talking about. I thought it was a really interesting difference of opinion when it comes to the definition of sense of humor. Let's see, Carrie, you know there is a fake Sully Erna Instagram. Don't do it. No, Sully's been posting up on his real Instagram again. Fake Instagram. Just report him. Michael Voorhees says, guys want ego reinforcement. Very interesting. Donna says, I want someone I can laugh with, which is very interesting. Well, there go all of my jokes, says Keith. Maybe a guy means easygoing. That's what I mean. Like, I thought it was really, really interesting because it's something that both sides, men and women, both say is important when they're looking for a partner. But it's interesting that the definition of the same thing is something completely different. Linda says, hi, Wednesday. Let's see. Michelle says, R.I.P. Angela Lansbury. Yeah, if you guys didn't hear that, Angela Lansbury, Murder, She Wrote star, she passed away today. Lived to be in her 90s, which is all any of us could hope for, although I've told my husband and my friends several times that my goal is to live to 100, provided that I'm going to live a full quality of life. provided that I can still move around freely, that I'm in control of all of my bodily functions, and most importantly, that my mind is still with me. I would love to see 100 years, to see a full century before I passed away. But if you can make me laugh, I know that's when I feel comfortable with a man and that I know can do the same. Then I know we have a connection, says Jillian. So yeah, I thought it was interesting. Betty says also patience to be able to see the lighter side of things. Wednesday, you are so cute, says Jessica. Wednesday has been incredibly clingy for weeks and weeks now. It's actually been months. And that has been continuing. She is insisting on sleeping with me almost every night. Sometimes she puts herself to bed if I stay up late or if I'm working late. She'll just put herself to bed in her bed in my bedroom. But for the most part, she makes it very known that she wants to be in bed with me. And there's even a picture that I put up on Instagram, both on mine and Wednesday also posted it on her official Instagram, that she was allowed to come down to MCHQ for a little while. The problem is when she's in the studio, she can only be there when I'm not actually recording. When I'm editing or working on emails and stuff, that's fine. But between the jingling of her collar, the grunting and the snorting and all of the pug noises, she is so loud that I can't have her in there when I'm actually recording because she just makes too much noise. Jen says, my husband makes me laugh on a daily basis. Friday, we will be married for 22 years, been together for 30. That's what I'm talking about though, Jen. He makes you laugh. So his definition of a sense of humor is someone that's going to laugh at his jokes. But do you make him laugh? Does he laugh at your jokes? That's the question. If you can bust my balls and take it to, that is my ideal woman. Mark, that is the definition of my husband and I's relationship, seriously, because I think my husband and I both want someone that's going to make each one of us laugh, but that's also going to laugh at our jokes as well. We both are alpha in that way. We can be exhausting together when we're in a room with a bunch of other people. It's like he and I are competing for the most laughs. It's a competition. Tracy says the pug noises. Yes, exactly. Carol says, congratulations. I know, almost 30 years together. That's pretty amazing. Jillian says, haven't found it yet, but hey, Jillian, you never know. You could meet someone right here in the war room. You guys obviously have all of this in common. I know there's a lot of people here in the war room that are happily married. There are some that are divorced and happily remarried. There are some people that are happily single. Some people that are kind of trying to figure it out along the way. A little bit of everything here in the war room, which is exactly why I love hanging out here every Tuesday night. All right. So the thing I want to remind you guys about once again is that it is October, which means it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which means it's time to pay a little bit of love and attention to the breasts in your life, whether they be your own, whether they be your sisters, your moms, your wives, whoever breasts are in your life. Now is the time to encourage and remind them to either let you check their breasts if you're a clinician, or you can do an informal check and then refer them to an expert. But a lot of people, especially through COVID, put off taking care of themselves. They put off a lot of those appointments to be able to protect their own health because they were so worried about protecting other people, or they were working, or they were looking for work, whatever it is. But I have made a conscious effort, especially over the last couple of months, since things with my mom have moved to the next stage in her illness, is to try and put a little bit of focus on my own health and well-being. So I got the mammogram right before I went to Vegas to celebrate my birthday and wanted to get that kind of out of the way. Went and got my physical. I still have to go and get the lab work done because I keep waking up and like having coffee and breakfast and forgetting that I have to go and have the blood draws and stuff. So I have to set my alarm, get up really early and just go to the lab before I have breakfast because it screws everything up. Carol says 20-year survivor. Exactly, Carol. See, the early detection is so key because technology and the research grants, the amount of funding that's been put into breast cancer diagnosis and treatment is that if it's caught early, the success rate is actually really good, but you have to catch it as early as possible. So if you have not had a mammogram in the last year, ladies, make an appointment. Guys, it is also incumbent on you to encourage, not to nag, but encourage, because I'll tell you, it sucks for about 2 minutes. It takes about 15 to get in there, get checked in, get changed, get in there, plop your boobs up on the shelf, get them squished like a panini, and then go back and get changed. I got the letter the other day. I'm happy to say that my mammogram was clean and that I am healthy, and I've already got my appointment scheduled for next year. And there's just this peace of mind where, pardon me, Wednesday. Sorry, I didn't. Want to say hi? Huh? But I just like knowing that, like, there's nothing to worry about there. I had the test. My husband does frequent informal checks. I just want you guys to see this. Sitting next to me wasn't good enough. She's sitting on the lap now. Do you want to say hi to everyone? Huh? Or do you just want to sit on my lap for a while? Okay, you can sit on my lap. Just examined a few pairs this weekend, said Keith. I hope they were all healthy, Keith. Ryan says, closed up my place at OOB yesterday and moved home for the winter, watching my local watering hole, catching up with old friends. See, that's fantastic. Enjoying life, although the change of seasons can be a little sad. Say hi, Wednesday. Yeah, she's literally hiding behind the microphone right now. Let's see. Me too. Always been scary. Wednesday is so adorable. Men can get breast cancer also, says Jen. Yeah, that's something that we talked about last week, and that it's obviously not as common, but definitely something that guys, obviously if it runs in the family, is something you should be getting checked. But also, guys, bring it up with your doctors when you go in for your annual physical, just to make sure that you're not going to get surprised by something that is uncommon for you, but also common enough where, they remind guys to go and get checked. Husband does routine checks. Yeah, when we get together. Not as routine as I would like, but he checks them as often as possible. Yes, Mark. My daughter's cat was just sitting on my chest, says Jonathan. Wednesday just wants to be sitting here on my lap now, I guess, which is fine. Right, Wednesday? You're just going to sit here the whole time? And then she scratches me when I'm not physically giving her affection, like rubbing her like I'm doing right now. Wednesday, are you giving your mom extra love, says Elsa, or she's just looking for extra love from her mom? But this is literally what she does all the time now, is that she wants to be on my lap 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is something that was not normal when my mom was still around. But because my mom isn't in the house anymore, Wednesday misses all of that extra affection. And so what's sad is that I'm locked in MCHQ for a lot of the day. So one of the beauties of working from home, working out of my own studio, is that I can take... Do you want to say hi? Say hi. Say hi. Don't lick the microphone. That microphone's expensive, Wednesday. Is that I can take a few minutes out of my day to check on her, to be able to come up and take her for a walk. Oh, there go the pillows. And to be able to give her a little bit of attention when she wouldn't get any of it if I were working outside of the house. So Ralph says, what's up, Carrie and Wednesday? They should get squished too, said Tracy. Yeah, the men's. Yeah, okay. I'm not a doctor. I know that they tell women to get a mammogram every year, more often if it runs in the family or if you have had a history of it yourself. But I don't know how often they tell guys to get mammograms. But somebody chiming in, that's right. Peter Criss from KISS had breast cancer, which is, it's unbelievable. Bob DiCarlo says, great to see you, Carrie. Great to see you too, Bob. Mammograms are not as comfortable as biopsies. The fear of having a life-changing disease. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. It sucks for like 10 minutes. Just go and get it done, get it over with. And October is that reminder that we got to do it. So just go and do it. Hold on, let me turn the pug cam on. She's gnawing on your rainbow unicorn over here. Just in case anybody thinks that the toys that you guys send in that she doesn't play with, she plays with all of them. It just depends on which one she feels like playing with at the time. Right now it's the rainbow unicorn and the ducking stingray and also the octopus, the squid, whatever it is. Exactly. Happy early birthday to your mom, says Jonathan. Yeah, we'll talk about birthdays coming up a little later on the show. My mom's birthday is later this week, and so we are going to go. They don't want us to have a big giant party because it's just too overwhelming. But my sister and I are going to bring Wednesday, and we're going to have a little birthday gathering at the end of the week with my mom. And it'll be the first time that my mom has seen Wednesday since she stopped living here in the house. So I'm really curious how my mom is going to react to seeing her, how Wednesday's going to react to seeing her, and how a lot of the other patients where my mom is cared for are going to react to Wednesday as well. We were already warned that bringing her in there, they were like, don't make any plans for a while because just bringing Wednesday in and out of there, that every single patient there is going to want to play with her and pet her. And so they were like, expect to spend extra time there. Ed says, what's up, Carrie and the War Room family? Hello, Ed. Travis is joining us here. What is going on? Let's see. Wednesday is absolutely adorable and cute. Does she eat any treats? She eats all the treats. Not even a joke. She pretty much eats every treat. I try not to give her too many. You guys can see, obviously, pugs are not greyhounds. They're built a little stubby anyway. And I've had pugs for about 25 years, and I really, really try to keep them from getting overweight. Obviously, the pug stature of being a little squishy, that's normal, but they live much longer. I've had amazing success with my pugs living to 14, 15, and even 16 years old. And the key to that, especially in the heat of the summer, is not letting them carry extra weight. So Jen says a friggin' biopsy sucks ass, but you got to do it. Just go and get checked. Ladies, guys, just everybody, encourage the people in your lives to go and get checked so that we can all just be healthy and have peace of mind. Let's see. All right. So let's get to this week's cocktail recipe, shall we? This week, the cocktail recipe I picked out is a little bit of a take on Hellraiser. And I thought since it's Halloween season, I wanted to give you something that, well, I guess was a little Halloween-y themed anyway. So the hair razor, not the Hellraiser, but the hair razor, 2 ounces of 100 proof vodka, 1.5 ounces of rye whiskey, 1/2 ounce of fresh lemon juice. It says to shake the ingredients and then strain into a martini glass and serve. So I thought because it's vodka primarily and lemon juice with a little bit of the rye whiskey mixed in there, if you're going to garnish it with lemon juice, obviously the lemon twist, anything that we talk about garnishing with lemon, a little bit of mint is also really good. Trimming the rim with sugar or lemon sugar is always something cool that you can do with a vodka and lemon kind of drink. But trying to get into the Halloween spirit. So instead of the Hellraiser, that one's called the Hair Razor. And we do a different cocktail recipe every week just to try and level up our cocktail making abilities when we have parties, or just even if you're sitting home by yourself. I think there's a difference between just cracking a beer and treating yourself every once in a while to a craft cocktail or something a little more top shelf if you had a rough week or if you're celebrating something, to just go into your cabinet. Even if, we were talking about the relationships that we're in, I got to tell you that when my husband and I are together, one of the nicest things that he does for me especially at the end of a tough day or just when he and I had a great day, is that he'll go and he'll make me my favorite drink exactly the way I like it. And I don't ask him to do it. It's one of those love language things. It's an act of service. And I just really appreciate being brought a drink at the end of the night. I'm not a huge drinker, but I do enjoy a cocktail, as we all well know. Tonight I put a little Godiva liqueur in my coffee, which I've been drinking a lot of iced coffee out of my Cheez-It glass that I got right here in the war room, which I absolutely love. It keeps the ice cold in here for freaking hours. But a little Godiva liqueur in with the coffee, fantastic. But I just, the idea of a craft cocktail, anytime I go to a new restaurant or a new bar, I always ask to see the drink menu. I always talk to the bartender. I always tell them what I like. And then I always give them the opportunity to make me something that maybe I've never had before. If I don't like it, I don't get another one. And then I go to the old standbys of the, vodka soda or a Moscow Mule or something like that. Some of my friends over the weekend took me out for kind of a surprise impromptu dinner, and I had this fantastic toffee pudding and cake at the end of my meal with an espresso martini. I don't drink espresso martinis often, but I just really wanted one, and it was so good. So that's the cocktail of the week. The Hair Raiser, it's called. 100 proof vodka, rye whiskey, lemon juice, in a martini glass with a little bit of a lemon garnish or maybe a little bit of mint or something on the side. Lemon gummy slice to garnish. Christine says, that's what I'm talking about. Get inventive with the garnishes, especially as we get into the Halloween season, that maybe you could take one of those fantastic skull ice cube trays that you guys have sent me here in the war room for mail call and just plop a little skull shaped ice floating in the middle of the drink. Just something to, give it a little Halloween elevation. But like I said, that one's called the Hair Raiser. That's our cocktail of the week. Just something we do here in the war room every week. I wanted to tell you guys this because I think it's kind of funny. For some reason, I've become this de facto expert on building studios. Not only did I go out to the morning show boot camp in Chicago to be on a panel about building a home studio, but I also recently was asked to submit an essay for like an industry blog about constructing a studio, what drove me to do it, how it worked out for me. And one of the things they asked me to do was to submit some photos of the actual construction. And I thought that I had archived and shared some of the early photos of the construction of MCHQ, and then I realized that I hadn't. So I went and dug through the archives of my phone and found some early construction photos of MCHQ. And if you have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, I shared a bunch more pictures, but I thought I would share a couple of them here in the war room. So I can show you guys some of the additions that have been added to MCHQ. But over here, you will see day one of construction of MCHQ. See way up in the corner of the wall, there is one square of soundproof insulation. That is the first day that I started working on MCHQ. The only thing I did before this photo was paint the ceiling, which is why my treadmill and the inversion table and some of the other stuff that was in that room is all covered up with plastic. This room, before it was my studio, used to be my at-home gym, and it's where I trained for the marathon. It's where I did all of my winter training for the Tough Rucks. And so when I made the decision to build MCHQ, obviously the first thing I did was paint the ceiling, get that out of the way. Anybody that's ever painted a ceiling knows that you're just going to splatter a little itty bitty paint dots all over everything. So I wanted to do that absolutely first. I covered the whole floor, covered everything in the room. Then I started the soundproofing application and installation. This bottom picture kind of shows you the long view of the studio. So over here, you'll see the double doors. That is the closet to MCHQ. And then up here, if this photo extended the wall, there's also another closet here. Then there's the couch. But this is day one of the construction of MCHQ. Actually, I think the bottom picture is while I was painting the ceiling because I popped the light out of the ceiling, as you can see. And then these photos over here are the finished product and the most recent photos I have of MCHQ. Obviously, the soundproof blinds that got installed long after this. They were some of the last things that got put in. They're open, so you can see the green outside. But these photos are the same angles, and that's why I put them both up here so that you can see the absolute difference. And I totally forgot that I had taken these early photos and that I never showed them to you guys. And so I wanted to show them to you now because it's been over 2 years now, which blows my mind. But while I was kind of writing this essay, which I'll share with you when it gets published, going back through the process. And one of the things as I was writing this essay is kind of going back through the decision-making process. And it's something I talked through with you guys here in the War Room as it was happening, is making the decision to do it, then having to admit I didn't know how to do it. And just like with anything in life, it doesn't matter what it is. If you want something bad enough and you don't know how to do it, that mental process of saying, okay, I'm self-aware enough to admit I don't know how to do something, but I'm also smart enough to understand that there are people that know how to do it, and to seek out that knowledge, ask for help. That's something that I don't like to do, ask for help. And we've talked about that extensively here in the War Room. And so when I found these old pictures and then put them next to the new pictures, it really reminded me and took me back how far I've come. And it really allowed me to, for a second, take stock in everything that's happened and to really be able to be like, wow, not only am I proud of myself for doing it, but it also really showed me everything that I've learned. And if you're going to tackle any kind of adversity in life, one of the most important things that you can do is learn something from it, because it sucks to go through it. But at least if you can accept that it's a learning process, that it's being put in your path for a reason, and that you want to learn something from it, that's the whole point, right? I mean, why go through something that absolutely sucks if it's not going to change you for the better? And so as I was looking at these pictures, I was like, I really want to show everybody in the War Room because it's just crazy. Heidi says, hey, War Room family, what's up, MC? Looking wicked pissa tonight. Thank you, Heidi. I appreciate that. If you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out, says Tracy. Exactly. Wait, social drink? Why is everybody drinking? Is there a typo? What happened? Why are we drinking? I'm MCHQ constriction. Ha ha! Now I'm starting to see why you guys are all doing socials, because there's a typo on the screen. Will you guys let me know and not just drink when there's a freaking typo? Why do I got to figure it out? Ash says typo constriction. Thank you. There's my drink. All right. So anyway, I'm watching Jaws on TV, says Tom Miller. Jaws, by the way, was the top 3 of 5 horror films that Tobias Forge from Ghost said recently that inspired him. The Shining was number 1. The Exorcist was number 2, but Jaws was number 3. We're going to need a bigger boat, says Tracy. Exactly. All right, let's recap last week's podcast episode. Actually, last week we got a podcast episode and a bonus podcast episode. Last week, episode 122 featured guitar player Joel Hoekstra from Whitesnake and the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Been a fan of Joel's guitar playing for a long time. Saw him at TSO last year at the DCU Center, and we talked about that in the episode. I took my mom and my godmother, Annie Ange, who joins us here in the War Room, and also my sister. The 4 of us went, and my mom and my godmother were drooling over Joel Hoekstra. They just thought he was so handsome. Then they were talking about his shoes, the most random thing. My sister and I were in awe over the theatrics of the show, the lighting, the pyro, the staging. It's an amazingly produced show. It's unbelievable if you've never seen it. But my mom and Annie Ange were more focused on Joel Hoekstra, how handsome he was, and also his shoes. So if you haven't checked out episode 122 of the Mistress Carrie podcast yet, it features guitar player Joel Hoekstra, Whitesnake, not out on the road. We only talked about that a little bit. David Coverdale has got a severe upper respiratory infection that's keeping Whitesnake off the road. But the Trans-Siberian Orchestra will talk about all of the dates they have coming to New England coming up in just a little bit, but they're going to be in town a bunch in November. We also... and by the way, those shows are going to be at the DCU Center. And just last Friday, the WWE Friday Night SmackDown was at the DCU Center. And I had a chance to talk to WWE superstar Drew McIntyre. And that was a bonus episode of the podcast that came out at the end of last week. So if you haven't checked it out yet, he was absolutely awesome. We talked about how difficult it is to fly commercially when you're 6'7", 275, or 6'6", 6'7", 275. He also talked a lot about the rock music that he loves, that he works out to the gym to Slipknot, and that he's personal friends with Adam Jones from Tool and Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins, who are both huge wrestling fans. So if you missed this bonus episode of the podcast, you're going to love it, especially if you're a wrestling fan. But we talked a lot about Scotland, which is where he's from. We talked about the bagpipes. We talked about a lot of the rock music that he loves, about why he loves wrestling so much. We talked a lot about Boston as well. And like I said, a lot about rock music too. So episode 122, if you haven't checked it out yet, is available everywhere. And then the bonus episode featuring WWE superstar Drew McIntyre is also there. A little bit of something different this week for episode 123. Episode 123 comes as a request from the guest from episode number 4. So you guys will remember on episode 4, First Sergeant Jonathan Hill, who not only survived the Battle of Cop Keating, but was also portrayed in the film The Outpost. He was one of the first episodes of the Mistress Carrie podcast. And he reached out to me and said, there is an Army veteran who has become an author. He's written a book called Kilroy Was Here. His name is Brett Allen, and would you be interested in having him on your podcast? I can make the introduction. And I was like, absolutely. So this week on episode 123, as we get closer to Veterans Day, just a few weeks away, I wanted to give you guys a chance to check out the episode, to be able to get the book, and to be able to read it over Veterans Day, hoping that you'll love it and that you will tell your friends about it as a way to support a veteran over Veterans Day. So Brett Allen sent me a copy of his book, Kilroy Was Here. It came in the mail, actually, and he personalized it for me, which I absolutely loved. It says, to Mistress Carrie, Brett Allen was here, and he's also gotten pretty good at the Kilroy Was Here drawing. Now, one of the first things we talk about in this episode is the legend of Kilroy Was Here. And the legend has it that it was a guy whose last name was Kilroy, who was a rivet inspector in the shipyards right here in Massachusetts. And that he would inspect the rivets with chalk, and that he would mark the rivets that were questionable, and then to let the people on the ship know that they could have confidence in the ship construction because it was inspected by him, he would draw this Kilroy Was Here drawing, and that it showed up all around the world during World War II. That's the legend. Now, it's never been 100% proven. There have been other people that have said that they're Kilroy, or that they're the origin of the Kilroy Was Here. It's kind of like the first meme. It's something that Brett and I talked about in the interview, but I thought it was really interesting. So the difference between this book and a book that is written in the first person about a veteran's deployment is that Brett Allen decided to do something a little different. He decided to turn this into a work of fiction. So even though the stories are completely inspired by the people that he served with in Afghanistan in 2009, which, by the way, he was in Afghanistan at the same time as John Hill, and they actually didn't serve together. They were in different parts of the country, but they connected on social media because of John Hill's advocacy for veterans. And when they realized that they were in country at the same time, they became friends, which is how John Hill introduced me to Brett Allen and about the book. So I'm going to read a little bit of the back of the book. Brett Allen's Kilroy Was Here is at times a rip-roaring, hilarious look at how war is waged. At others, it will make you want to punch the page in rage at how nonsensical and stupid decision makers on the battlefield can be while risking the lives of American service members. Kilroy Was Here is a tragic comedy capturing the essence of the absurdities and brutalities soldiers endured in Afghanistan, audaciously hilarious, all while keeping the horrors of war very real. And these are recommendations from fellow veterans. A story of deployment to war from the perspective of an everyman officer, Kilroy Was Here is easily relatable to both civilian and military alike. Written from the written rules to the unspoken rules, this will bring a smile or a cringe to the face of anyone who has ever carried a rifle in their hands and their life on their back across a flight line or a gangplank. And he also got a review from his own mom, which is a lot of the levity that comes in this book. I really enjoyed the book, but I didn't care for all the swears. So Brett Allen invented characters to kind of protect the names of the innocent and also to protect the careers, I would assume, of a lot of the people that are portrayed in the book. But the stories are real and they are inspired by his time in Afghanistan. And there are a lot of chapters. It's another book that's really easy to read because the chapters are short. So if you can only pick it up for a few minutes at a time, it's the kind of book that you can breeze through because the chapters are short. Brett Allen said, this novel is dedicated to all of the wonderful men and women that I served with during my 4 years in the U.S. Army and some of the not so wonderful ones too. Also, I dedicate this novel to the members of Task Force Titan for whom I am forever bound by the bonds of war. And finally, to those who were lost but will never be forgotten. It also says this book is a work of fiction, though much of it is based on the actual events that occurred throughout my tour of Afghanistan. My experiences may have been modified, twisted, exaggerated for the sake of humor and story. Members of the real Task Force Titan may recognize roots of many of the scenes therein, and I hope those of you recall those times with fond feelings. It should be noted that as a work of fiction, all of the characters in this book are also fictional. For those who were there, if you should suspect a piece of yourself in any of these characters, good or bad, you may be right. I carry pieces of you with me wherever I go in life. Figuratively, of course, I don't have physical pieces of any of you, except for the lock of hair I stole from my captain, Mishad, while he was sleeping. Anyway, I guess that what I'm trying to say is that I don't get all whiny and aggravated if you think a character is based on you and you don't like the way the character is portrayed. Suck it up, Buttercup. A story has to have antagonists, right? It's not always about you. Stop being selfish. Lastly, if it is not this story's intent to downplay the sacrifice of veterans, but more to dispel the notion that merely wearing a uniform makes you a hero. Like the civilian world, the military is made up of all kinds. Hard workers and sandbaggers, optimists and assholes, straight shooters and functional alcoholics. Most of us wore many of these hats at different times, sometimes all at once. We never are perfect, but we are always there, gallantly forward. So this is the kind of book that I thought was something different. And I thought it was interesting. I thought it was something that I wanted to put on your radar for a few different reasons. One of the things that Brett and I talked about is that most military books, and therefore the movies that get made based on those books, are about solely the trigger pullers that are the ones that they make movies about for a reason, because of the bravery and the sacrifice and the loss that happens, including in the movie The Outpost with First Sergeant Jonathan Hill. However, as we talked about in this episode of the podcast, the ratio is like 99 or 100 to 1. That for every trigger puller, there are 100 members of the military that make the military function to put that one trigger puller out in the field. And that includes everyone from the medical staff to the postal staff to the engineers and the construction crews and the aviation and the transportation and the logistics and the intel, the people in the army cooks. My time in Afghanistan, I only went to one place that had actual army cooks. It was the best meal of the 3 weeks I spent overseas. But there are a lot of jokes that get cast aside, especially by infantrymen, special operators, trigger pullers, anybody that's got a CIB that, you make fun of the fobbits. You make fun of the people that are left behind safely on the base while you go out and do your missions. And one of the things that Brett and I talked about is when you enlist in the infantry, that's the job you want. But there are so many other jobs that are so necessary to help the military function. The linguistics experts, like I said, the intel, the research, all of those people. And there are a lot of those people that are represented in this book as well. And it was something that Brett Allen really wanted to portray, that it's not just all about the firefights, but there's a lot of other things that go on behind the scenes. And some of those are good, and some of those are funny, and some of those are bad and sad as well. And so there's a little bit of everything in this book. And so I wanted to call your attention to it because I think it shines a light on a lot of the stories of members of the military. He's obviously an Army veteran, so there are a lot of Army references in here. But I think anyone that's been a part of any branch of the military and served at any time is going to be able to relate to and appreciate a lot of the humor and obviously a lot of the angry and sad moments that anytime that you're a part of a big machine. A big corporate machine, a big military machine, there are always going to be those corporate decisions or those big military decisions that affect individuals differently and that can be ridiculous, but they can also be tragic. And so there's a lot of that in here as well. So I'm super excited for you guys to hear this episode. Episode 123 of the Mistress Carrie podcast goes live at midnight tonight, and it features author and U.S. Army veteran Brett Allen and his book, Kilroy Was Here, that came out earlier this year. So there you go. And the show notes of the episode are all of the links. You can Google them and find them. The book is available on Amazon and pretty much anywhere else that you can look for books as well. But I put the links up there so that it'll make it easy for you guys to support a fellow veteran. If you're a veteran and you want to support fellow veterans, we're always talking about different ways to support veterans, right? We're always trying to do veterans outreach, mental health check-ins, buddy checks, trying to help suicide prevention and awareness, trying to help with homeless veterans. But helping veterans also means supporting them in the next phase of their life in the quote unquote regular or real world. And so here is a perfect example of an Army veteran who has become an author. This isn't his first foray into writing. It's definitely not going to be his last. He's already working on another manuscript. Actually, it's really inspiring in this episode of the podcast. You'll hear how he kind of forces himself to write. Because I asked him the question that I ask every author that I have on the show: how do you go from the blank page to a book? How do you get started? And the way that he forces himself to write is kind of really interesting. So I wanted to bring this to your attention for a bunch of different reasons, but also just because here's a way for you to celebrate and support a fellow veteran. So there you go. So episode 123 goes live at midnight. It's featuring Army veteran and author Brett Allen. And if you subscribe and follow the Mistress Carrie podcast, not only do you get the full-length episodes, but you also get the sit rep every weekday, rock news, music headlines, entertainment, updates, kind of everything you need to know, but it's broken down into 5 minutes and you get it 5 times a week. So no matter where you're listening to the podcast from, whatever outlet you choose, there's a lot of content getting delivered every week. The weekly episodes, the sit rep, and regardless of where you listen to the podcast, whether you want to listen to it on Apple, which is definitely the most popular, but Google, Spotify, Odyssey, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Pandora, Podkicker, there's just so many different places to listen to the Mistress Carrie podcast, including Pantheon Podcast Network just launched a free Pantheon Podcast app. And the Mistress Carrie podcast is featured there. So if you want to download the Pantheon Podcast app, it's free. Go to your app store, and it makes it so much easier to be able to check out all of the podcasts in the Pantheon network. And there are over 100, and they are all music-based. Some of them are just about Kiss. Some of them are about one-hit wonders. Some of them are about music, autobiographies, and memoirs. Mike Shue's Neil Young podcast, Long May You Young, is in there. So if you are a fan of music, if you're a fan of specific types of music, or you just love listening to music-based podcasts, the Pantheon Podcast Network now has its own app, and the Mistress Carrie podcast is featured in there, and you can download it for free. So there's a ton of ways to listen to the podcast, and if you have no idea how to listen to podcasts, just go to the website, because MistressCarrie.com has embedded players for every single episode. All you do is just look at the one you want, click on it, and hit play. It couldn't be any easier. Seriously, you can do it right off the website. And we are holding strong at 127 countries listening to the podcast. And once again, I know I promised you guys the top 10 this week, and I forgot to put it in here. I'll drink because it's a mistake, but I'll bring it to you next week. But the top 5 listen countries in the world are holding tough, the same 5: the United States, Canada, the UK, Russia, and Singapore. And we're still holding strong at 130. I thought we were going to hit 131 countries this week, but we didn't. So we're still holding strong at 130. Donna says, my grandfather was a tank mechanic in the Army. Something really important to think about when we're talking about Brett Allen. He actually comes from a long lineage of military service, and we talked about his grandfather's role in World War II as well. All right, let's talk about some music headlines. Lots going on. Some big announcements came today. Blink-182 is back together with Tom DeLonge. They've got a massive world tour that just got announced today, and they also have a new album in the works. They haven't been a full band with Tom DeLonge in almost 10 years, which is kind of crazy, but they're back together. The world tour goes on sale on the 17th, and it includes a date in Boston at the TD Garden. This has been added to the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com, but the tour already has dates scheduled in New Zealand in early 2024. This is a massive tour, just huge, giant tour. And the fact that Blink-182 are back together again is pretty awesome. The Trinity of Terror tour is getting close. Ice Nine Kills, Motionless in White, and the Black Veil Brides. Atreyu is going to be at the show at the Songus, and this show is coming up on November 17th. That show and all the shows we're going to talk about in the music news are featured in the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Don't forget, Record Store Day is coming up on Black Friday, and a lot of releases are coming out, including a vinyl release of the Red Hot Chili Peppers' new album, Return of the Dream Canteen, which comes out on Friday. I got a list of all the new releases coming up. The Dropkick Murphys are going to be at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway coming up on March 17th and 18th, and at the House of Blues in Boston on March 19th. All of those tickets are on sale right now. So if you haven't had a chance to see the new MGM Music Hall at Fenway, beautiful venue, absolutely gorgeous. Joe Satriani is going to be at the Orpheum November 5th. The new Disturbed album is on the way November 18th, and it features a duet between David Draymond and Ann Wilson from Heart, which I cannot wait to hear. The new Godsmack album has been announced. It's called Lighting Up the Sky, and it's due for release sometime in February of 2023. We're also getting a new Queen song later this week. I think it's coming on Thursday. It's called Face It Alone. I've been talking about it a lot. James Labrie from Dream Theater and I talked about it on his episode of the podcast. It is a leftover demoed song from the recording sessions of 1989's The Miracle. Yes, it features Freddie Mercury. They had the demos. They forgot all about it. Then they didn't think they could finish it. The engineers were able to go in there and do some magic. A brand new Freddie Mercury fronting Queen song is coming out this week. It's called Face It Alone, and we'll have to talk about it next week. So obviously on Thursday, if you're listening to the Mistress Carrie radio show, I'm going to be playing that for sure, so be listening for that. Super excited about it. Supposed to be out in September, and for some reason, they're just getting around to releasing it now, but whatever. I'm all about it. AWOL Nation's going to be at the House of Blues on October 23rd. That one coming up quick. Judas Priest and Queensryche are going to be at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway coming up on Sunday. If you haven't seen the trailer for Shotgun Wedding yet, featuring J-Lo and Josh Duhamel, Lenny Kravitz has a role in that movie. Giovanni and the Hired Guns have a new song called Overrated that is fantastic. Coming up on Monday, Iron Maiden and the Legacy of the Beast tour rolls into the DCU Center. I think there may be like a handful of tickets left available, but there are not that many. I tried to get a bunch of tickets to give away for backstage pass holders and for people here in the War Room, and they just didn't have enough of them for me to give them away. I was talking about the Trans-Siberian Orchestra because Joel Hoekstra from Whitesnake and Trans-Siberian Orchestra was on the podcast last week. 2 shows at Mohegan, November 23rd. 2 shows at the SNHU Arena on November 25th. 2 shows at the DCU Center on November 26th. That's a matinee in the afternoon and an evening show. All of these shows have gone on sale already, and they're all featured on the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Now, we were talking about the Red Hot Chili Peppers' new album. These are all of the records coming out on Friday. There's a ton of new releases. Lacuna Coil went back through their Comalize album, which is the album that has Heaven's a Lie. If you listen to WAF back in the day, they went back and they revisited this record and recorded alternate versions, and they're calling it Comalize 20 to commemorate its 20th anniversary. That comes out, so it's not a reissue. These are new versions of the songs. This comes out on Friday. Alter Bridge has their new album, Pawns and Kings, coming out on Friday. Nothing More's new album, Spirits, comes out on Friday. Poppy, who is going to be opening up for the Smashing Pumpkins and Jane's Addiction at Mohegan this Thursday, and then at the TD Garden coming up on Sunday night. She has her new EP coming out called Stagger on Friday. Todd Rundgren has got a new album called Space Force out this Friday. Queensryche, who's going to be opening up for Judas Priest on Sunday night at the MGM, the music hall at Fenway, not the one in Springfield. Queensryche's new album, Digital Noise Alliance, comes out on Friday. The Chili Peppers' new album, Return of the Dream Canteen, and Skid Row's new album, The Gang's All Here, which, if you heard the bonus episode that I did earlier this year with Dave the Snake Sabo from Skid Row, we were talking about this record. That's coming out on Friday as well. So there's a ton of new music coming out. Heidi says, planning on visiting Mass in October of 2023. Let me know if you want to get together and have an iced coffee. Mass hole style, says Heidi. Nothing like giving us a year's notice, Heidi. Who knows? By then we might have the War Room out on the road once a month or whatever, and maybe we'll be able to have the whole War Room there with you. Ralph says, Amon Amarth, November 23rd at the MGM Music Hall. Sending you 2 extra tickets that I can't use, says Ralph. I'll give them away. Absolutely. Let's see. Can't wait for the Godsmack, says Tracy. I really like the podcast with Poppy, says Heidi. Wait, my podcast? I haven't had her as a guest yet. I've had a lot of women on the podcast, but I have not had Poppy on yet. TSO is like a spiritual kind of live thing. You just feel it so much. Annette, 100%. It's a fantastic show. It's kid-friendly. Some people get super dressed up. It's like a big holiday tradition for their family, and they go 10, 12 members of the family. This is kind of their holiday gift to each other. There aren't any bad seats either. Even if you're sitting up in the balcony of the DCU Center, they find a way to make everyone have amazing seats. There's pyro and there's big platforms and people getting hoisted off the stage. So you really can see everything, and it's fantastic. So if you haven't seen it yet, I really encourage you to go. The shows are awesome. I absolutely love it, and will definitely be at one of the shows this year. All right, mail call. Oh my goodness. So every week on Mail Call, if you're new to the War Room, I open up the mail that gets sent not only to the show, but also to me personally. Wednesday gets a lot of mail here as well. Sincerest wishes, Libra sister, for a happy birthday. I love the pug cards. I don't know where you guys find so many different pug cards, but I love it. Says Carrie. And if a photo of a pug dog with a party hat staring at you with big puppy dog eyes isn't sincere, I don't know what is. Love you. Have a great day. Happy 50th. Wishing you a phantasmagorical day. Love, Melissa. P.S. The water is fine. Come on in and enjoy the club. Yeah, exactly. A pug puppy in a party hat. You found my love language for sure. This card says, Halloween greetings to Mr. and Mrs. C and the cute goth pug. We hope you had a great time in Vegas. Sorry that you didn't get your birthday card. Glad Mr. C was there. And hello, Mr. C, thank you for your service. Once again, I don't know where you guys find all the pug cards. Seriously, where? And this is from Keith and Michelle. By the way, just in case you guys think I'm crazy, I think she hears the mail call and she just comes back. She just came running in from the other room because she heard the mail call. Oh, the frill of it all. Is this a hint that Wednesday needs a pink tutu? Mistress Carrie, today's a great excuse to be fancy. Happy birthday. We hope you have a great birthday, Alexis and Jason. Kind of looks like Wednesday, doesn't it? See, that like the little white in the chin is the giveaway. Like Wednesday has always had a little patch of white under her chin. When she was like 3 weeks old, she had it. She's also always had a little white patch here, which always reminded me of Wednesday Addams' collar, which is why I named her Wednesday because, well, A, I always wanted to have a pug named Wednesday, and B, because she just fit the bill. So thank you guys so much for all of the pug cards. Like I said, I don't know where you guys find them all, but I absolutely love all of them, and they will be hanging up in MCHQ very soon. Come here. Boop. I just booped your nose. Boop. Boop. I just booped your nose. She's not fazed by any of it. Are you going to come and hang out with me? Come here. Come here. No, you just want to lay down. You just want to be in the room. Guys, every week now. Every week she just snuggles up on the couch and just wants to lay there. Look at her. Just wants to lay there and just be in the room with me. You are such a love bug. And you get more and more of a love bug every day. You were such a little shit when you were a puppy, and now you're just like this little... I love to do this with her ears. Her ears are so soft. They're like little velvet ears. Oh my God, I love them so much. And she loves me rubbing her ears. Sometimes I take both of the ears at the same time. Oh my God, she loves it. Right? A little velvety forehead. All right. Let me remind you guys about the online Mistress Carrie store. I am going to have some new stuff for the holidays. I have been having a really hard time sourcing some of the things that I wanted. I picked out some very specific hats that I wanted, and I am having a hard time getting them to get them embroidered in time. But I'm working on some new stuff for Christmas. But as the temperature drops, the beanies, the hoodies, the perfect gift for the holidays, perfect gift for yourself. We are going to be having some holiday sales, and all of the sizes are in stock right now. I took inventory the other day and have been reorganizing the storage of all of the stuff for the store. So if you haven't gotten yourself a hoodie, now's the time to get them. I think over the holidays, we may sell out on some sizes, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to replenish them again before the holidays. So if you definitely need a specific size, order them sooner than later. All right, let's look at the birthdays. If you're celebrating your birthday today, you share it with Cardi B, you share it with MC Light, you share it with Scott Johnson from the Gin Blossoms, and you also share your birthday with Daryl Hall. So to everybody celebrating their birthday today, and happy unbirthday, Keith. I didn't forget you this week. Cheers to you if it's your birthday. I'm telling you, just a little Godiva chocolate liqueur in the iced coffee at 9:45 at night. Yeah, exactly. All right. Once again, I also want to remind you about the Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass. There is always a lot going on. I share some pictures here in the War Room, but so many more pictures, blog posts, updates. Just there's so much more going on if you have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass. Here's another typo for you guys because Alice in Chains, Breaking Benjamin and Bush, that show was over the weekend. I also heard from everybody with Backstage Passes that was at the show that the show is absolutely fantastic. And it was the last show of the tour. So to everybody that got tickets with Backstage Passes, I'm glad you guys had a good time. I still have I Prevail tickets up for grabs. I have not been able to get Iron Maiden tickets, but there's a lot of other shows that are coming, and I am working on getting more tickets. So if you have a Backstage Pass, you're also going to get exclusive coupon codes for holiday shopping. Anytime I travel, I've got one more trip planned before the end of the year. There's travel blogs and updates. You get early access to event tickets, exclusive concert ticket updates, and sneak peeks on stuff. So if you don't have a Backstage Pass, you can get one easy. Go to mistresscarrie.com, click the Patreon link, or just go to patreon.com/mistresscarrie. I also want to thank everybody that I met at the Battle of the Bands last week. On Thursday night, Mike Shue and I had a great time at Polar Park watching a bunch of different great bands. The Midnight Riders won it all. They won a huge prize package. These were like high school kids that were channeling these amazing. They did this cover of Pink Floyd that I think helped push them over the edge because they were amazing. There was also a band called Between the Waves that did these amazing kind of acoustic jam versions of a bunch of different songs, including some Jay Giles, and they were fantastic. They had a male and female lead singer and 2 acoustic guitars in the band, and they were great. And there was also a band that if you ever get a chance to go and see them in a bar, they're called Disco Lemonade. And they are a band that plays medleys. And they had such a wide range of, that's what this shirt is, by the way. It's the Battle of the Bands from last week at Polar Park. This band, Disco Lemonade, was really interesting because they would find a way to do 3 songs from 3 different artists in 3 different eras and make a medley out of those 3. And everybody that was there at one point or another during Disco Lemonade was dancing. So whether you were a 70s baby and were into classic rock, an 80s baby that was into hair metal, a 90s baby that was into some alt pop and grunge, or if there were even little kids there that were dancing to some of the TikTok famous songs. But this band, Disco Lemonade, I had never really seen a band do what they did. They never played a whole song straight through. They just made these amazing medleys, and it was great party music. And so if you get a chance to see any of the local bands that were featured at the Battle of the Bands, I highly suggest that you go and check them out. Support the local music scene. They were awesome. And it was so nice to meet all the people that were there. There were hundreds and hundreds of people there. I broadcasted live from there Thursday afternoon. And one of the things that was crazy to me is that there were so many people coming up to me saying, "Are you Mistress Carrie? I miss you on the air so much. What are you doing now?" And when people ask me that, I know that there are so many people that used to listen to WAAF that aren't just glued to Facebook, glued to Instagram, glued to Twitter, whatever. It just still amazes me that I've been back on the air for a year and a half and that the podcast has been out for 2.5 years. The War Room's been going for 204 episodes since March 14th of 2020. And there are still people that listen to me on AAF and that have no idea what I've been doing. So I'm just going to encourage everybody once again, if you love a podcast episode, if you love hanging out in the war room, share it, tag it with people that you think would love it. Because I'm just constantly surprised. I had so many amazing conversations with people that had no idea about the podcast. And as they started looking through it on their phones while we were talking, they were like, holy shit, look at all of the interviews that you've done. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of been a thing for over 2 years now. But it just goes to show you that these things take so much time to build. You think everything is instantaneous, but everyone's lives have been so crazy over the last 2.5 years since AF went off the air that it's going to take so much time. Even though the podcast is growing every day, to get it to the level where I want to get it, it's just going to take so much time and getting the word out. And so there you go. My granddaughter, Miss River Rose, will be 4 months old in 11 days. Oh, congratulations, Michelle. So cute. Let's see. I missed something else that Michelle posted about Clarence, but I see all of you guys that are offering support, which I absolutely love anytime that happens here in the war room. So Tracy says, Michelle, don't forget to use respite care for yourself. That's something that my sister and I didn't even really know was a thing, and had to learn that was a thing. And it was hugely helpful to actually be able to take a break for yourself and recharge your own batteries. And it's 100% necessary. Heidi says, my birthday is October 15th. So you got your birthday landing on a weekend. That's fantastic, Heidi. I hope you're celebrating in style for sure. So let's see. Want to remind you guys just all the places you can find me. You guys know by now. Just all the links are on the website. I'm on all the social platforms. I'm on more and more on TikTok. The YouTube channel is growing slowly. I am in the process of getting a new phone and some new equipment in the studio as well, which I think is going to make cameo videos so much better. So I should be ready for the holidays. Part of my birthday present to myself was getting a new phone. I just don't have it yet. So there's a lot going on. So let's see. Happy birthday early, says Donna. Michelle says, working on getting as much help as we can. Veterans resources, like you guys are saying. I'll be drunk, says Heidi. Exactly. Michael's got his birthday coming up November 10th. Fantastic. Lots of birthdays to celebrate this time of year. And you know what that means. That if you were born around this time of year, it means you were conceived around the holidays or right around the new year. So you know what your parents were doing. All right, guys, that's it for episode 200. Was this 204? 204 of the Mistress Carrie, 123 of the Mistress Carrie podcast, 204 cocktails in the war room and counting. So new episode goes live at midnight tonight. I'll see you guys in the war room next Tuesday. And you may see me out and about at some shows, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. There's going to be a lot of shows coming in the next few days. So I definitely will see you guys at some of those. And Backstage pass holders, I'm getting ready to schedule the live stream for the month. So just keep your eyes on Patreon and you'll get all the details coming up. All right, guys, I'll see you guys next week. Talk to you later. Wednesday, you want to snuggle? Yeah, I know you do.